We are moving into significant times, and I feel it will be critical how we come to understand and perceive what is to come. How we frame the external happenings that continue to erupt across the world will decide how we respond and cope with the effects. A few days before writing this essay, I posted a message on my Telegram channel. I wrote the following: the more I observe external events unfolding, the more I perceive predictive programming at work. When we read or hear in the mainstream media, we should understand that there is an intention to tell us how things are, according to a set narrative. Mainstream narratives are programs, psychological manipulations, and often outright lies. We are given these narratives to program our beliefs. Our beliefs then create our perceptions, and our perceptions create our experiences. Ultimately, we experience the world according to the narratives that we are given. This creates a loop, and many people remain in this perception loop. In the coming days, weeks, and months, these loops are going to contain increasing dissonance, unease, and discomfort. We need to step away from them. We have to disentangle ourselves from the external programs and manufactured narratives. It is essential we step out of the lower frequencies of unrest and instability and find our inner grounding. We can do better than this. And so why did I write this? Well, because I feel that the times ahead are going to be increasingly chaotic, and it is important that we do not get caught up in these disruptive energies. Everything external to us is calling for our attention and dragging our attention outwards and away from ourselves. And this not only makes us more attached to external events and occurrences, but also weakens our inner balance. Now is the time to be grounded and stable, and to see clearly that what are operating in the physical realm right now are only shadows. They are the shadows of an older world, an older regime of power that is struggling with its last desperate breaths as a new revolution of understanding emerges. It is our time to acknowledge these struggles without engaging with them, for they shall also allow us to gain our sovereignty, inner freedom, and comprehension of the bigger picture. Now, I haven't dipped into the Old Testament for decades, nor have I fully read it, yet this quote fell across my radar as I was writing these words. In Ephesians 6:12, it was written that, quote, "For our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil even in the heavenly places." End quote. The human struggle has been a long one and continues to be so, for the path to perceptive awakening and awareness is not a daisy-strewn walk. Yet I feel that humanity is coming towards a threshold in perception, awareness, understanding, and realization. And for this threshold to emerge, a pressure is building. I was speaking yesterday, which actually was the 22nd of September 2022, to my friend and colleague who receives the ABE messages about this feeling of energy. She immediately received a nudge, that is a message, incoming message from ABE, the unified field, with the following communication. Quote, there's a pressure building up to push you past the threshold. It will get your attention to enable you to look in a differing direction and not continuing in the same loop pattern now. It will be allowance on all levels now, for what had been a step stall will now be a step relate. But hear this, you will, in the allowance of, see more also, feel more also. This is so. End quote. And this message also mentions the loop pattern that some people are finding themselves in, which I had referred to in my previous Telegram message. I feel there is a different pattern emerging, different that is from the loop pattern. And this is one of a build-up of chaotic energies that are needed to push us over a tipping point threshold. This is the same process or mechanism that occurs in complex systems. And perhaps it wasn't a coincidence that I did my PhD on social complex systems. In a complex system, as it develops, expands and takes on greater complexity, it often reaches a stage known as a tipping point. At this stage, the system can go one of two ways. It can either break through or break down. In order to break through, the system needs to gain an extra amount of energy to push it through the threshold. Yet as this extra energy emerges within the system, it creates disruption and chaos. This energetic disruption is sometimes called a chaotic disruptor or chaos attractor, as, like a vortex, it attracts more energy to it, thus fueling its energetic state. Eventually, this energy reaches its own tipping point where it feeds into the complex system, pushing it past the threshold into a new recombination, a newly ordered complex system of greater stability and order. However, if this push is not reached, the chaotic energy instead activates a breakdown of the system. And this is a basic overview of how complex systems operate. Another way to frame this is that humanity can go through the portal or threshold or fall into the hole, breakdown. This is exactly how White Eagle of the Hopi indigenous tells it. And this following is his advice. Quote, "This moment humanity is going through can now be seen as a portal and as a hole. The decision to fall into the hole or go through the portal is up to you. If you repent of the problem and consume the news 24 hours a day, with little energy, nervous all the time, with pessimism, you will fall into the hole. But if you take this opportunity to look at yourself, rethink life and death, take care of yourself and others, you will cross the portal. Take care of your homes, take care of your body, connect with your spiritual house. When you are taking care of yourselves, you are taking care of everything else. Do not lose the spiritual dimension of this crisis. Have the eagle aspect from above and see the whole, see more broadly. There is a social demand in this crisis, but there is also a spiritual demand. The two go hand in hand. Without the social dimension, we fall into fanaticism. But without the spiritual dimension, we fall into pessimism and lack of meaning. You were prepared to go through this crisis. Take your toolbox and use all the tools available to you. Learn about the resistance of the indigenous and African peoples. We have always been, and continue to be, exterminated. But we still haven't stopped singing, dancing, lighting a fire and having fun. Don't feel guilty about being happy during this difficult time. You do not help at all being sad and without energy. You help if good things emanate from the universe now. It is through joy that one resists. Also, when the storm passes, each of you will be very important in the reconstruction of this new world. You need to be well and strong, and for that, there is no other way than to maintain a happy, beautiful and bright vibration. This has nothing to do with alienation. This is a resistance strategy. In shamanism, there is a rite of passage called the quest for vision. You spend a few days alone in the forest, without water, without food, without protection. When you cross this portal, you get a new vision of the world because you have faced your fears, your difficulties. This is what is asked of you. Allow yourself to take advantage of this time to perform your vision-seeking rituals. What world do you want to build for you? For now, this is what you can do. Serenity in the storm. Calm down. Pray every day. Establish a routine to meet the sacred every day. Good things emanate. What you emanate now is the most important thing. And sing, dance, resist through art, joy, faith, and love. End quote. Our time is approaching. Yet until we arrive at that moment of the psychic revolution, we will first need to walk a rocky road. Like the camel in the desert, by keeping an eye on the horizon, it doesn't stumble, for it sees ahead to what is coming, rather than focusing down at its feet. This can be our vision too. We see ahead. We look further, beyond the present. We perceive into the distance to our destination, rather than being distracted by the stones at our feet. And we shall get there as we step over the pebbles. Let each of us prepare for this approaching threshold by being receptive to those energies that shall push us beyond the chaotic attractor, rather than being attracted to the chaos. The portal or the hole is the choice that awaits us.